Hello, my name is Mahogany Browne, and I'm excited to be here celebrating one of the greatest of all time, not just our time, but all time, Toni Morrison. I am excited and delighted to celebrate 50 years of Toni Morrison's Bluest Eye, which feels especially relevant to us in 2020 because to love yourself, being a Black girl in this day, in this age, is a constant fight, is a constant revelation, is a constant revolution. And so this reading today is dedicated to the wealth and the grace and the gifts of Toni Morrison, and in memory of Breonna Taylor. Nuns go by as quiet as lust, and drunken men and sober eyes sing in the lobby of the Greek Hotel. Rosemary Villanucci, our next door friend who lives above her father's cafe, sits in a 1939 Buick eating bread and butter. She rolls down the window to tell my sister Frida and me that we can't come in. We stare at her, wanting her bread, but more than that, wanting to poke the arrogance out of her eyes and smash the pride of ownership that curls her chewing mouth. When she comes out of the car, we will beat her up, make red marks on her white skin, and she will cry and ask us, do we want her to pull her pants down? We will say no. We don't know what we should feel or do if she does, but whenever she asks us, we know she is offering us something precious, and that our own pride must be asserted by refusing to accept. School has started, and Frida and I get new brown stockings and cod liver oil. Grown-ups talk in tired, edgy voices about Zeke's coal company and take us along in the evening to the railroad tracks, where we fill burlap sacks with the tiny pieces of coal lying about. Later, we walk home, glancing back to see the great carloads of slag being dumped, red, hot, and smoking into the raven that skirts the steel mill. The dying fire lights the sky with a dull orange glow. Frida and I lag behind, staring at the patch of color surrounded by black. It is impossible not to feel a shiver when our feet leave the gravel path and sink into the dead grass in the field. Our house is old, cold, and green. At night, a kerosene lamp lights one large room. The others are braced in darkness, peopled by roaches and mice. Adults do not talk to us. They give us directions. They issue orders without providing information. When we trip and fall down, they glance at us. If we cut or bruise ourselves, they ask us, are we crazy? When we catch colds, they shake their heads in disgust at our lack of consideration. How, they ask us, do you expect anybody to get anything done if you are all sick? We cannot answer them. Our illness is treated with contempt, foul, black draught, and castor oil that blunts our minds. When, on a day after a trip to collect coal, I cough once, loudly, through bronchial tubes already packed tight with phlegm, my mother frowns. Great Jesus, get on in that bed. How many times do I have to tell you to wear something on your head? You must be the biggest fool in this town. Frida, get some rags and stuff that window. Frida restuffs the window. I trudge off to bed full of guilt and self-pity. I lie down in my underwear. The metal in my black garters hurts my legs, but I do not take them off, for it is too cold to lie stockingless. It takes a long time for my body to heat its place in the bed. Once I have generated a silhouette of warmth, I dare not move, for there is a cold place 1/2 inch in any direction. No one speaks to me or asks how I feel. In an hour or two, my mother comes. Her hands are large and round, and when she rubs the Vicks salve on my chest, I am rigid with pain. She takes 2 fingers full of it at a time and massages my chest until I faint. Just when I think I will tip over into a scream, she scoops out a little of the salve on her forefinger and puts it in my mouth, telling me to swallow. A hot flannel is wrapped about my neck and chest. I am covered up with heavy quilts in order to sweat, which I do, promptly. Later, I throw up, and my mother says, "What did you puke on the bedclothes for? Don't you have sense enough to hold your head out the bed? Now, look what you did. You think I got time for nothing but washing up your puke?" The puke swaddles down the pillow onto the sheet, green-gray, with flecks of orange. It moves like the insides of an uncooked egg, stubbornly clinging to its own mass, refusing to break up and be removed. How, I wonder, can it be so neat and nasty at the same time? My mother's voice drones on. She's not talking to me. She is talking to the puke, but she is calling it my name, Claudia. She wipes it up as best she can and puts a scratchy towel over the large, wet place. I lie down again. The rags have fallen from the window crack and the air is cold. I dare not call her back and am reluctant to leave my warmth. My mother's anger humiliates me. Her words chafe my cheeks and I am crying. I do not know that she is not angry at me, but at my sickness. I believe she despises my weakness for letting the sickness take hold. By and by, I will not get sick. I will refuse to. But for now, I am crying. I know I am making more snot, but I can't stop. My sister comes in. Her eyes are full of sorrow. She sings to me. When the purple falls over sleepy garden walls, someone thinks of me. I doze, thinking of plums, walls, and someone. But was it really like that? As painful as I remember? Only mildly. Or rather, it was a productive and fructifying. It was a productive and fructifying pain, love thick and dark as Alaga syrup, eased up into that cracked window. I could smell it, taste it, sweet, musty with an edge of wintergreen in its base, everywhere in that house. It stuck, along with my tongue, to the frosted window panes. It coated my chest, along with the salve. And when the flannel came undone in my sleep, the clear, sharp curves of air outlined its presence on my throat. And in the night, when my coughing was dry and tough, feet padded into the room, hands repinned the flannel, readjusted the quilt, and rested a moment on my forehead. So when I think of autumn, I think of somebody with hands who does not want me to die. It was autumn too when Mr. Henry came, our roomer. The words ballooned from the lips and hovered above our heads, silent, separate, and pleasantly mysterious. My mother was all ease and satisfaction in discussing his coming. "You know him?" she said to her friends. "Henry Washington, he's been living over there with Miss Della Jones on 13th Street, but she's too addled now to keep up, so he's looking for another place." Oh, yes. Her friends do not hide their curiosity. I've been wondering how long he was going to stay up there with her. They say she's real bad off. Don't know who he is half the time and nobody else. Well, that old crazy nigga she married up with didn't help her none. Did you hear what he told folks when he left her? What? Well, he run off with that trifling Peggy from Illyria, you know. One of the old slack Bessie's girls? That's the one. Well, somebody asked him why he left a nice good churchwoman like Della for that heifer. You know, Della always did keep a good house. And he said the honest-to-God real reason was he couldn't take no more of that violet water Della used. She said he wanted a woman to smell like a woman. Said Della was just too clean for him. Oh, dog, ain't that nasty? You telling me? What kind of reasoning is that? No kind. Some men just dogs. Is that what give her them strokes? Must have helped. But you know, none of them girls wasn't too bright. Remember that grinning Hattie? She wasn't never right. And their auntie Julia is still trotting up and down 16th Street talking to herself. Didn't she get put away? Nah. County wouldn't take her. Said she wasn't harming anybody. Well, she's harming me. You want something to scare the living shit out of you. You get up at 5:30 in the morning like I do and see that old hag floating by in that bonnet. Have mercy. They laugh. Frida and I are washing mason jars. We do not hear their words, but with grown-ups we listen and watch out for their voices. Well, I hope don't nobody let me roam around like that when I get senile. It's a shame. What they going to do about Della? Don't she have no people? A sister's coming up from North Carolina to look after her. I expect she wants to get a hold of Della's house. Oh, come on, that's an evil thought, if ever I heard one. What, you want to bet? Henry Washington said that sister ain't seen Della in 15 years. I kind of thought Henry would marry her one of these days. That old woman? Well, Henry ain't no chicken. No, but he ain't no buzzard either. He ever married to anybody? No. How come? Somebody cut it off? He's just picky. He ain't picky. You see anything around here you'd marry? Well, no. He's just sensible. A steady worker with quiet ways. I hope it works out all right. It will. How much you charging? $5 every 2 weeks. That'll be a big help to you. I'll say. Their conversation is like a gently wicked dance. Sound meets sound, curtsies, shimmies, and retires. Another sound enters but is upstaged by still another. The two circle each other and stop. Sometimes their words move in lofty spirals. Other times they take strident leaps, and all of it is punctuated with warm, pulsed laughter, like the throb of a heart made of jelly. The edge, the curl, the thrust of their emotions is always clear to Frida and me. We do not, cannot, know the meanings of all their words, for we are 9 and 10 years old. So we watch their faces, their hands, their feet, and listen for truth in timber. So when Mr. Henry arrived on Saturday night, we smelled him. He smelled wonderful, like trees and lemon vanishing cream, and new Knoll hair oil, and flecks of sin-sin. He smiled a lot, showing small, even teeth with a friendly gap in the middle. Frida and I were not introduced to him, merely pointed out. Like, here is the bathroom, the clothes closet is here, and these are my kids, Frida and Claudia. Watch out for this window, it don't open all the way. We looked sideways at him, saying nothing, and expecting him to say nothing, just to nod as he had done at the clothes closet, acknowledging our existence. To our surprise, he spoke to us. Hello there. You must be Greta Garbo, and you must be Ginger Rogers. We giggled. Even my father was startled into a smile. Want a penny? He held out a shiny coin to us. Frida lowered her head, too pleased to answer. I reached for it. He snapped his thumb and forefinger, and the penny disappeared. Our shock was laced with delight. We searched all over him, poking our fingers into his socks, looking up the inside back of his coat. If happiness is anticipation with certainty, we were happy. And while we waited for the coin to reappear, we knew we were amusing Mama and Daddy. Daddy was smiling, and Mama's eyes went soft as they followed our hands, wandering over Mr. Henry's body. We loved him. Even after what came later, there was no bitterness in our memory of him.